Hello and welcome. Same as it ever was. It's Less Than or Sequel To, the podcast about sequels. And here with you, as always, is Kevin, your host. I'm here joined with my co-hosts. We have the saucy Christopher.
Hello.
And the sensual James.
Yep.
And today we're doing a movie, and I can only sum it up with one phrase. There should only be one. It's Highlander 2. I'm new to the Highlander. I did not see Highlander 1 before I watched it for this. Chris, I know you're a big Highlander fan.
I like it a lot, yeah.
When did you first see it?
Probably sometime in junior high.
Okay. So you're an impressionable young lad in the 70s. And
yeah, I didn't see it when it first
He
came
is a
out, but I saw it
Highlander,
later.
right?
Yeah. We've already established that you're significantly older than we are. And I think at one point in a previously recorded segment, you did hint that you are ageless and immortal.
Yeah, I try not to let that go. I must have been drinking.
Oh. Well, anyway, James, had you seen the Highlander before we did this?
I had seen parts of it, and I was familiar with it. I remember seeing, it spun off into a TV series later on, which I know I've seen several of them as a kid, I guess. So
Just the episodes?
Yeah, just some eps here and there.
Whenever you had it on the background?
Yeah.
Okay. When you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh cards or Pokemon?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll just get right to it.
Okay.
I have no idea what's going on in
Well,
Highlander
first,
2.
you just recently watched the first Highlander.
Yep.
So what did you think about that?
The first Highlander was, and it was a weird experience because it's kind of terrible. It's not a good movie, but it's a cool idea. I just think it's a really neat idea that just wasn't executed well. I don't understand why there's a Scotsman who is an Egyptian pretending to be a Spaniard. I don't get why there is a Frenchman pretending to be Connor MacLeod in the MacLeod clan. I don't get what's up with that. I'm not entirely sure why there can only be one. But I love Clancy Brown as the bad guy. What is he, the
Kurgan.
The Kurgan.
The Kurgan.
He makes great coffee.
The Kurgan.
Yeah.
The Keurig. And the odd thing is that the fucking soundtrack blew me away.
It's amazing.
I loved the Queen, because Queen does all the songs for it, and that's that one where the chorus is like, "Who wants to live forever?" And I'm like, you know what? Who does want to live forever? It really it got down to it got me. It touched me inside.
Emotional resonance with you.
It took a couple fingers and it got right inside me.
Yeah.
And I felt it, and I was like, you know what? As time went on, after a day or so, I loved the Highlander. It's got shitty special effects. It's really dated as hell, more so than other movies from the 80s, like other sci-fi type movies, but I enjoyed it.
I like the premise a lot. I think it could have been a better movie. It's definitely a flawed film. It's got, obviously you mentioned the great soundtrack. It's the only time on film I've ever seen anyone mention how odd Christopher Lambert's accent is.
Where are you from? Many places. All over.
Yeah, well, that's maybe where your accent comes from now, but in the flashbacks, you still had that stupid accent.
He tries to do the Scottish accent though. Every once in a while, he'll when he says Connor MacLeod.
That was actually better than he does it in the movie.
Does anyone know how it was received when the first one came out?
It was a big hit.
It was, I think it was like a middling hit. It was it wasn't like a blockbuster, but it had some cult following, and
I think they made it for real not a lot of money, and then all of a sudden it made 10 times whatever they put into it, and they're like, holy shit.
Because we are watching it 20 years later, which just on general, films don't age well, it seems, especially 80s ones. Even a good 80s movie is a little today. So if it was still enjoyable, that's a good thumbs up for an older movie.
Well, in this one, James, what did you think about Highlander 1? Because you also...
Highlander 1 was great.
Did you actually watch it?
No, I didn't. To peel back the curtain a little bit, we usually do this every 2 weeks. So I have 14 days to watch a movie, and I just ran out of time and just watched the sequel.
14
But
days
I feel like
to watch the original
Yeah,
and the sequel.
and a sequel.
And
It's
sometimes
pretty
the
easy.
series.
Pretty easy to sum up the first Highlander movie.
Well, and I've seen some of it, and so I went on and read about it, and like I said, I remember the series and stuff. I think my dad liked it when I was a kid, so I knew what it was, and just reading about it online, it's a pretty basic, just here's the good guy, here's the crux, here's the issue, here's the bad guy. You know he's gonna win. He gets the girl. Like, there's nothing surprising in it.
Well, the just a quick summary for those who may not have. If you're just listening to this because you're just such a huge fan of this podcast,
This will also serve to contrast the premise of the second film.
So the original Highlander, you have Connor MacLeod, who is
Clan MacLeod.
Of the Clan MacLeod. It's just played by Christopher Lambert.
Apparently, he's in the MacLeod clan, but he's still like a filthy peasant back in the Scottish Highlands.
Well, yeah, he's part of he's like a clan lord, but I guess there's just some warring clans going on.
He's still on the outskirts.
It's like the 1540s, I think it was, like 1540. I was born in 1543 in Edinburgh, Scotland, wherever he's from. Well, in modern times, he's still alive. Some people are just randomly born as immortals, and they just can't be killed unless you cut their heads off, which makes perfect sense.
Really, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can bounce back from anything
else.
As
you
do. But he ends up being he gets involved with a lady is like, okay, well, we got to figure out what's going on with this guy, because in the opening scene he chops a guy's head off. Some other immortal. I keep wanting to call them all Highlanders, but
yeah, they're not all Highlanders.
They're not all Highlanders.
Only one of them is.
There can only be one.
There's only one Highlander.
But so there's a murder. He chops off this guy's head because there's a lot of swordplay and unnecessary backflips in the beginning of that movie.
There's the Windows explosion.
Yeah.
Because whenever someone experiences the quickening, like after they kill another immortal,
is that what the quickening is? When you kill another immortal, you get
the
quickened?
Energy.
Yeah, get
that's
their
the quickening.
That's I thought the quickening was like the big prize. If you are the only one, then you get the quickening at the end.
It might be.
Well, that would be like the best quickening.
That's like
the ultra.
Like when you save up for like 7 days straight, and then like that's just like the ultimate quickening.
You know, it's kind of like that movie, The One, that Jet Li movie where he's going around the parallel universes, killing versions of himself, and he gets stronger in each one.
Yeah,
it's a little bit like that, except obviously Highlander was first.
Well,
but those scenes with all the lightning and stuff, those are pretty cool. Like,
yeah.
with the music and the slow-mo glass explosions and stuff.
And Clancy Brown is the Keurig, and he's like the strongest immortal, and he's trying to kill everybody else, all the other immortals, because
he just wants to get stronger.
He gets stronger and stronger. When he's done, you get like some special superpower prize.
You get like all knowledge. You become all knowing.
And so he's great. He was the best part, I thought, of the original Highlander, because I always see him as being the guard from Shawshank.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool seeing him, 8-9 years earlier than that, looking young and fit.
Yep.
But
because he's a huge guy. He's like
he's
6'3" or something.
He's legit tall in real life. Like he played the villain really well when he shaves his head off and he's in the church, and he's like just wagging his tongue at the nuns, and then the priest comes over and tries to deal with them, and he like goes to kiss the priest's hand and he licks it.
Yep.
Like he's
good.
He's bonkers. Sean Connery plays Ramirez in both of these movies.
Yes.
And Ramirez is like Juan Villalobos Ramirez Don El Saboso or whatever.
Yeah, he's
Sabaro.
He's a jumble of names.
Yep.
And he's Connor MacLeod's husband.
Yeah. In the second one,
not yet.
Not yet. They do get married, but in the first
just his
one,
fiance in this one.
Yeah,
Unrevealed,
they're just starting to date exclusively in the first one. But he is an Egyptian who is also immortal, who's pretending to be Spanish, and he's in Scotland specifically to find Connor MacLeod back in the 1500s. He trains him. He gets his head chopped off by the Kraken, and then.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone from the movie at that point. He shows up.
Sean Connery, it's very short role.
And it's slain your Highlander.
It's very memorable, but he definitely dies.
And what kind of sword does the Egyptian Spaniard train the Scottish man to
use? He
use
uses apparently a katana sword from 600 BC, which is impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty and I as James, I know you were also you taught social studies.
Yeah.
So he knows about swords.
I'm a history major. Is that the Bronze Age?
It's a long time ago.
It's
Yeah.
like, how are you gonna have folded steel to
Yeah.
make a samurai sword that has a hilt kind of like a rapier?
Mm.
Like it's got like an ornate like a Spanish like a cutlass.
Yeah,
guard
that's
or-
weird.
yeah.
It doesn't make sense for like the
No.
two-handed katana
No.
style. Yeah.
But anyway, so the Highlander wins. He kills the Keurig at the end.
Goes
And
through the ultimate quickening.
just like the biggest quickening ever, and then he's like, "I can see everything.
Yep.
I know everything."
Cue
and,
the cue queen,
Yeah.
and it's awesome.
yeah, and
Movie
then
over.
he and the lady like live happily ever after. Like I guess that makes him so he's mortal. He can because immortals can't have kids. Now he's mortal.
Right.
He can have, he's the only one left, so he can have kids happily ever after. They're we're all done.
Oh, I didn't know that he couldn't have kids.
Yep, immortals cannot have
Oh,
kids.
that's nice. Because there's some other stuff. I forget what it was. A TV show a while ago where some guy was immortal and could have kids. So over the past like 300 years of his life, he just has a ton of dead kids.
Just laying pipe and watching his kids
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
I think I know
Was it
what you're talking about. I don't remember what it was, but
Amsterdam? I think it had
Lilyhammer.
Jamie Lannister in it,
yeah, it was. I think it was something I started to watch, and then
and it lasted like 3 episodes.
yeah. I'm pretty sure I didn't last as long as the show did, but I don't think the show lasted very long.
Yeah.
So that's how the original Highlander. Because we don't want to get too deep into the first movie. You go watch it for yourself.
But you just know what
Because it's
the
a
deal
fine
is with
watch.
the
I'd
first
recommend it.
Yeah, James really liked it when he watched it. But then Highlander 2 picks up, and I guess just a little bit of backstory on Highlander 2. It was a movie similar to Ghostbusters 2 that like nobody really wanted to make. I guess to start off, they're kind of like, the first movie is a standalone movie. It's got an end. It's definitive. It's done.
Yeah, where do you go from all the immortals are dead,
And he's it.
and then he's not an immortal anymore?
Yeah.
So.
Well, what they did was they, since it was so financially successful, the studio said, "Well, we got to have a sequel," because that always works out so well.
Yeah.
So
For the best reasons.
they get Lambert back, and he says, "I'm not doing anything else." Okay, and he's back, and he's ready to go.
And he gets his production company in on it
his
too,
production
right?
company, which I was blown away when I saw this. Did you notice this, Chris?
No.
Lamb Bear.
Productions.
Like animals.
Yeah.
Oh.
LAMBBEAR.
It's like a play on words and a helpful pronunciation guide for
He
his name.
he phonetically spelled it with animals.
Because you English dummies don't know how to say my name.
My name is not Lambert. I feel like we're gonna if you don't like the Lambert impressions,
Fuck yourself.
turn this
Get
off.
out of here. Yeah.
Turn this off
Yeah.
now, because this is all we're gonna do.
I'm holding back because mine is much more like Peter Lorre than Christopher Lambert. Rick, I need your help.
With the Highlander 2, The Quickening, we start X amount of years. It's like I think it's 2024,
Mhm.
so it's still in the future. Because right
From
now
now.
it's
Yeah.
2015, so
Yeah.
this could still happen.
Oh yeah,
And
I mean it probably will.
just like in the first one starts off with like a
Opera.
screen. No, the first one starts with a screen that's just like text giving you some backdrop.
Mm-hmm.
This one does the same thing. No, well, Sean Connery telling you, guess what? I'm gonna be back for this movie, even though he got his head cut off. So we start off in this movie, and Lambert is coming back as Connor McLeod, and he's super duper old with some shitty old man makeup.
Yeah, he looks like Vigo the Carpathian
Yeah.
at this point.
He looks like a Halloween mask.
He's got so much forehead going on. It's insane.
Going to show the movie on my
'Cause
forehead.
How old is he supposed to be? I mean, so in the first movie, set in like 85, Christopher Lambert is in the prime of life. Like, would you say he's like 30 looking?
Yeah, he's supposed to
Yeah,
probably be like
30,
early
35,
30s.
something like that.
So
So
he's
he's
about like
supposed-
75. He's about 40 years in the future.
Yeah. So I feel like a 70-year-old doesn't look that rough. I don't.
Maybe when they made this in
He's
91.
150 years old. I would buy that.
Well, I guess technically he's he's really
70-year-olds are expected today to still be working. Like they won't give you your social security yet.
I'll
Well,
be working until I'm 80.
Yeah,
he was actually like 550 years old. So maybe
physically,
mentally
yeah.
though, it's just affecting.
Well,
his
did the
look.
years
Yeah.
catch up with him cumulatively afterwards? Like he's aging more rapidly. Like
That's
eventually
right. They
he'll
just
get to
catch
like
up. Yep.
All those years punched his voice box right in the taint though, because that
it talks like this.
He's going to see the opera at Opera.
yeah.
He goes to the opera at Opera, which is the name of the opera house, which is helpful in case you can't find it.
I can't remember the other. There's two other instances.
finding it.
There's two other instances in the movie where the places were just called the thing that they
Is there
were.
like bar? Isn't like the
There
bar
might.
is
I
a
think
bar?
there was bar. Yeah.
Where I have to go to hotel. Oh, good, I'm at hotel now.
Where's my home?
But yeah, he has a ridiculous old like, it's like a little kid trying to be an old, or like a woman trying to be an old man.
Yeah.
Like it's like doing like a lady doing a man's voice.
It's like Monty Python when the Monty Python does the women. It's that level of.
It's so
ridiculous.
over the top. Yeah.
And hey, pretty lady, how pretty girl you are.
Yeah, he's a real creeper too.
He's creeping on, but he's at the opera and he's going to see. How do you say it? It's like Gotterdammerung.
I don't know because it's German, but I think it's Gotterdammerung.
Gotterdammerung, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I actually looked that up, and this movie is basically that opera.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The whole thing is it's a German telling of the Norse myth of like Ragnarok.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and a source that I actually had to go and find this on Wikipedia.
Oh, yeah.
I did some digging.
Again, hitting heavy with the scholastics on this podcast.
It's a prophesized war among various beings and gods that ultimately results in the burning, immersion in water, and renewal of the world.
Huh.
That's what this movie is.
Sort of.
It's
Yeah. That might have been what they were going for.
Yeah, it's immortals fighting to renew the planet.
Mhm.
Because in this world, Connor has somehow built a giant like shell around the planet, like as an energy generation that has a energy shield around the planet that
It's like
blocks
it's
out
an
the sun.
artificial ozone layer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it reflects the sun, so it's perpetually nighttime.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, that has plunged the world into chaos because there's no daytime. So it's kind of like there's a lot of street punks.
There is.
Some street punks come and accost him, and then he turns around and he's like, "I'm Connor McLeod from the McLeod clan," and they're like, "Oh no!" and they run off, and for no reason.
Well, because I knew that opera was about the Norse gods and stuff. I didn't know. I've never seen it because I don't care about opera, and it's in another language.
Philistine.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting that it kind of lines up with the storyline of this movie, and that's way more intelligent than I want to believe anyone involved in making this movie
I am actually
was.
pretty impressed with that
That's
fact.
yeah, I mean that's a pretty classic storytelling, device that I don't think that must have been a mistake.
We should also talk about what this movie looks like so far.
Shit.
It's like,
Did I get a bad copy, or is everything out of focus for the first 20 minutes?
yes,
It's pretty bad.
So what happens?
I digitally downloaded it, and it did not look great.
I wanted to make sure, did I get a VHS copy somehow?
I actually found a quote from a critic. I think it was on like the back cover of the VHS or something, but which I didn't actually have. Just somebody else noted how weird it was. I'm not taking credit for doing that much research, but this critic said it was like the smartest sci-fi movie since Blade Runner or something like that. Basically,
I saw one where they said it looks like Blade Runner.
It does.
this is for the second movie, but it looks like Blade Runner if there was a school play version of Blade Runner and somebody was just painting refrigerator boxes and stuff to look like the Blade Runner city, because that's how it is. Everything looks so fake, and not in a charming way at all. Like everything just looks
not
so
like Wizard of Oz
insubstantial.
like a matte painting, and you're like, okay, doesn't look real,
Like,
but it's like
you
I get what you're
expect
doing.
the buildings to ripple when somebody disturbs the wind around them or something. It's
It's gonna fall apart like the Blazing Saddles town.
yeah, like you wouldn't be able to lean against anything there or just fall over.
Well, I found a documentary called Highlander 2: Seduced by Argentina, and it's all about the making of this movie. They built all these gigantic sets in Argentina. That's where they shot this. Apparently, I guess it was cheap to do.
Yeah, I guess Lambert and stuff they had like just scores of women and stuff, Argentine women.
Oh, Connery was down there. Just there's so many Scottish Argentines now.
Yeah, well, because
Como estás?
I mean, because usually
we've got some oil for you.
Well, usually, I mean, because what you have, with the Hispanic population, they usually have darker hair. And as Connery knows, dark-haired women like to sit on men's faces.
Yeah, we have to talk about that. That scene where because at one point he's on a fucking airplane and he's baffled by this airplane.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't gotten to the point yet.
We haven't got to that.
We haven't gotten to the fact that in the first one, these people, the Highlanders are not. I'm just going to call them all Highlanders. Yes. So we know what we mean. When I say Highlanders, I'm talking about immortals.
This movie makes that term meaningless anyway. So.
Yep. The immortals and the Highlanders are just aliens from the planet Zeist.
Well, okay, so Lambert,
come on.
The Highlander, Connor McLeod, he goes to the opera.
Yep.
And he's in his little box there, because apparently he's doing pretty well, that he goes to the opera box by himself.
Connery gets in a little box later on.
And then there's a dramatic zoom and a voiceover that's telling him to remember. So he has a flashback, and then we see on the screen, because they type it out for us, that it's the planet Zeist.
It's so dumb.
And at this point, if you had never heard anything about Highlander 2, you would be very confused. Because all of a sudden, there's this alien planet in there. And it turns out that Ramirez and McLeod are part of this sort of rebel group on the planet. And
they're part of the Rebel Alliance.
They're part of the Rebel Alliance. And they get some like stolen data tapes or something, and they're trying to get away from this guy Katana, General Katana,
played by Michael Ironside.
Michael Ironside, who's great.
Who's fantastic.
He's the best. Again, the villain is the best part of both these movies. I thought.
So basically, at this point, his name is still McLeod for some reason.
No, it's McLeod.
McLeod. Even though he's a space alien, he's not yet the Highlander.
I'm surprised they didn't hyphenate to McLeod Ramirez after their wedding.
Well, you think so? Okay, so on the planet, for apparently no reason, they make McLeod like the leader of the rebellion.
And he's a man of great destiny.
Apparently,
well, because Ramirez picks him because he's got the hots for him.
It looks like the way that Lambert plays it, he just like shows up. He looks very confused like it's the first time he'd ever been there, and they just make him the leader of the rebellion. Yeah. And then he gets married to Sean Connery.
It's like the whole first Star Wars, but in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's actually like much more romantic than when Padme marries Anakin Skywalker. It's this very touching scene where they merge hands and the lights come out.
He dips his fingers in like some gold water, and then they touch them, and it's more. There's more like sensuality between.
Erotic.
There's more eroticism between them than there is him and the female lead.
And then Ramirez says, like, they'll always be able to find each other because they're joined.
Yes.
So I just wrote, joined in matrimony.
Yeah. they docked.
Yeah.
So their rebel base, which is basically a crashed spaceship in the middle of a desert. So they picked a really discreet place to hide out. They get discovered, and they get chased. And basically what happens is McLeod and Ramirez get exiled to Earth. Basically.
Well, we also. Well, and there must have been others that were exiled because there's more in the first movie.
All of the immortals are people who got exiled, which is a little bit weird because they all ended up at like different times.
And why were they exiled? I know it says because they were rebels.
Okay, so the idea of the exile is that you have to pay pretty close attention in Highlander 2 to figure this out.
But then, because later on they don't know why they're there. Or the bad guys don't remember putting them there or something?
It's been a long time.
What happens is, originally, it was supposed to be that one day on Zeist was like 100 years on Earth.
Oh, that's right.
So they would send them there, and they were supposed to be in exile and grow old and die. So that was why they got sent there. But then it turned out with, like, the Quickening thing happened where if they killed each other or if there were more than one of them there, they would just be mortal for some reason. So,
I mean that makes sense.
So basically, what Christopher Lambert does by winning in the first movie is seal his fate. So he's going to grow old and die, and he seems pretty resigned to that at the beginning of Highlander 2.
Yeah, well,
but Katana is not. For some reason, Katana decides to send these 2 henchmen that look like
Birdmen.
porcupines.
They're birdmen.
Birdmen.
Yeah. They do have like porcupine hair, but
they're quite
they're
bird-like.
birdmen.
Yeah,
Very,
okay. And one of them
aviary?
actually asks
Avian.
why he's sending them there, because Connor is just going to grow old and die anyway.
Yeah, if you just wait 5 minutes,
Yeah,
he'll die.
he was just like, well, why don't we just? He's just going to die, and then
He slugs him.
he slugs the guy for asking a perfectly reasonable
Especially-
question.
Yeah, if they're immortal and they've been alive for so long, their perception of time must be so compact. If Michael Ironside just takes a long nap, when he wakes up, like
He's gonna be dead.
McLeod
Wait till-
won't be a concern.
Like,
Right.
wait till lunch.
Yeah,
He's done.
But he sends these 2 dudes, and they attack McLeod.
I mean, get on Reddit on your phone, take a dump. When you're done, he'll be dead.
Yeah, when they send when the Birdmen come down too
on their
McLeod is-
hoverboards.
on their Back to the Future hoverboards.
Yep.
Which apparently, as I learned, they had to change the design because Back to the Future 2 came out.
Yeah, it came out right in the middle of production, and they had to change it because I guess originally they just looked straight up hoverboards. They were pink. It said Mattel on them. They had to change it.
So they were they actually pink? Did they have like
I have no idea what
the
they
yellow
look like.
spray paint on them to make them look super 80s?
But yeah, so Connor ends up killing both of these dudes. One of the dudes awesomely gets his head run over.
Yep. He gets
And-
that's the way he gets his head severed. Is that
That was a great effect, where his head just got crushed off.
Mhm.
It looked pretty cool.
honestly, I liked the flying effect because again for the time.
It wasn't as bad
It
as
wasn't
you'd expect
bad,
from
no.
this movie.
No,
Yeah.
like
Because they use wires and they use real.
and I guess they use like a counterweight thing for the board.
Yeah.
So like when Connor like lifts up, like he goes over a car and he lifts his legs up, the board kind of looks like it
Comes up with
comes
him.
up with him.
Yeah.
And for the time too, and the other guy has like a jetpack, so he looks like the Vulture from
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
so it's Green Goblin versus Vulture fight.
That's exactly what it is. But so I also don't get why they'd send the henchmen. Not only just let Connor die naturally, but
Well, the worst thing is that killing them
makes him young.
grants him immortality again.
Yeah.
And makes
He
him
gets
young.
quickened.
He
I
gets
think-
quickened, but he's
quickened. I got the quickened.
Is it this fight where he yells out Ramirez?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
at the
old.
because
Yeah.
he quickens himself. Yeah, he gets quickened after.
He's
and
old.
then I think he sends a quickening.
Yeah, this was like 2 quickens.
Yeah.
That he just had 1 extra
Yeah,
quicken.
he,
He
like,
sends it over to Ramirez.
Well,
he had
luckily-
a lot of bills to pay, so he had to get 2 quickens.
Yeah, luckily they have that ozone
he's
layer
starting
thing.
a small business.
Yeah, because he rebounds a quicken off the ozone layer.
Yes, right into Ramirez.
Yeah.
So
And-
Sean Connery comes back to life on the stage of Hamlet.
Yep.
Yeah, and then a
He
quickening.
makes a gay joke to Hamlet too. Which
Sure.
is great.
Whatever
Oh, he does,
relationship
yeah.
you two
Yeah.
used to have is none of my business.
Yeah, even though he's married to McLeod, he doesn't
Yeah.
really. I mean, what's his problem?
You shouldn't
He's
stop
self-hating.
Stop being such a homophobe.
Self-hating homosexuals,
Just like a Republican
Ramirez is.
senator.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then a quickening must also be like a natural medication, like similar to Viagra, because right after, without asking, McLeod bangs. He gets torqued up.
right there.
Doesn't
Yeah.
and because that's
And
what
she
I wrote,
knows it was the old guy.
Yeah.
She watched the whole thing.
well,
happen.
that's what I wrote that
And
down.
I'm not sure if she wanted it completely.
Well, that's when you get quickened.
But then she hangs around, so it must have been okay. I don't know.
Yeah, that's I was just wondering, like,
Must have been
did
a
he-
sweet 911.
did
that
they
he was driving around in.
was there penetration? Did they fuck right there when they're doing it?
That was a dirty sidewalk fuck.
Because
Yeah,
they
it was.
I think that must
they're
have
just
been-
like making out, and his kisses are disgusting.
Well,
He's lifting
he
up
is,
that dress. Well, and
He is Belgian.
yeah. Well, we never got around to old voice though. So before getting young again, Christopher Lambert has this terrible old voice, and he actually sees this woman on TV and goes, "Pretty girl."
That's right, because the female lead is she's a leader of a resistance that doesn't like the appropriately named Shield Corporation that takes care of the Shield,
Yes.
which is run by John C. McGinley
And Nick Fury.
and Nick Fury.
Yep.
He's the director of Shield.
Oh man, and McGinley is so bad in this movie.
There are a couple times where he flashes McGinley.
Some Dr. Cox comes out.
Well, because he's done Platoon by this point, and he's great in Platoon.
Yeah.
And like I read that he was trying to do like an Orson Welles impression.
Yeah, so he was speaking with a really low voice.
Yes. And then he said that was a bad choice, and I agree with him.
I think that everyone would have that to say
Yeah.
about all the choices.
There
in this
are
movie.
a couple times where his character does like an exasperated laugh,
Yeah.
and I wonder if that was just actually him coming through in that situation. Like, why am I on this piece of crap movie all the way down in Argentina?
So at this point, I mean, we kind of covered it a little too casually. I think that in the first movie, they're sort of randomly gifted people that are born immortal.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it turns out that they're aliens.
Aliens. It's
So-
retconned.
This casts a shadow over the first movie. So if you like the first movie and you believe this second movie to be sort of canon to the Highlander universe, it ruins the first movie.
Yeah, there's very little. There's nothing that's really contiguous between the first two movies. I mean, they kind of border each other just in having some characters that are the same name,
Yeah.
and that's about it. Like,
I mean,
they should have
couldn't
taken.
I understand their problem where it was such a close-ended movie in the first one. Couldn't they just have it be in the future and then have more Highlanders be born? There could have been, 30-year-old Highlanders that were born like right after the
They could have
the
done like
Quickening.
if they wanted to have him back for
Yeah.
name recognition, you could have just had him like, oh, he died, but then he's reincarnated.
I mean, they did two
Or
more
like
films.
the third Highlander that pretends the second one doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And what happens is there's a Highlander who's a Japanese wizard who is trapped in a cave, so he didn't make it to the Quickening in New York.
Uh-huh.
Oh no.
And so it's basically the first movie all over
See, that's
again.
fine. That's dumb too, but at least it
Is
doesn't
he
ruin
the
anything.
Highlander at that point? Or is McLeod
No,
still?
Lambert is always still around
Yeah.
because he shows up in the last Highlander movie that they made after the show was done.
Like in 2007, I think it was like the last one.
Yeah, like he has to
Yeah.
come out of retirement and do something. It's with
he's,
the
he's
dude.
a retired Highlander.
Yeah, so-
He is.
Yeah, so yeah, the third
Because
one
there's two Highlanders at that point. There's the guy in the show and him. Two McLeods.
so does
It's
does
gonna be a McCloudy day.
in the first one does That's pretty awesome. In the first one, do they mention his parents at all?
No, he just
No.
he's there with like a cousin and the dad of Braveheart's best friend,
Yeah.
and they have, which is also really it's disquieting because they have real Scottish actors next to McLeod.
Maybe
They
he
must
was
have been
just deaf.
pissed.
They must have been really pissed. They're like,
They should have
What?
made him.
just talk like a normal person. They all.
They should have just made the character deaf. That would have made sense.
Oh, that would have been really cool.
Yeah.
Because oddly enough, Lambert is kind of charismatic.
Or he could use his other senses. There are some Lambert movies that I like authentically enjoy.
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. There's a movie. There's a movie called like Fortress where he goes to a super prison in space or something, or in the future. It's actually that movie might be terrible. I haven't seen it in like 20 years, but
That's okay. I mean, you were 20 when you saw it, so.
oh yeah, that was back when I was 63.
In case you're just joining, if you're just tuning in, we are here with a real Highlander.
Yeah.
Chris is actually a Highlander.
That's why I hate Highlander 2 so much.
Yeah, it's offensive to Highlanders. But so I think at this point we go back to Ramirez in Scotland. He rolls up to a tailor and he goes and
Yeah.
Oh, because the dude
I've got
makes
a-
fun of his clothes, calls
Well,
him a shithead.
you're a shithead.
Shithead.
Well, because he thinks that shithead is like at first he doesn't seem to know what shithead means, but then someone like.
I think he knows what by the time the dude makes fun of his clothes.
Well, did other people call him a shithead on the way to the tailor? Like he
Maybe.
finally figured it out. Like
or maybe he heard
you're the shithead.
that's
Shithead.
they say shite, yeah, in Scotland. It's weird that they do the shithead version. It's
Well,
funny.
in Argentina they say shit, so that's why they did it. So he shows up to this tailor and he's dressed in his crazy fucking garb,
Mhm.
like he's a conquistador, and he rolls
Yeah,
up.
he got reincarnated or like resurrected in his
He
his
resu-
clothes.
He resurrects himself, basically, or like he just when Connor yells,
He gets
Ramirez.
quickened, yeah.
Well, Connor sort of does it. Goes, Ramirez, because it's his wife. Or,
Do that.
Yeah.
Wait, how does Connor say it?
Ramirez.
So, he comes into this shop and they're giving him like the stink eye because he looks like a psycho and he's got a giant sword. And then he takes off an earring that he has. He gives it to the guy, and they give him the best fucking service ever. They tell him the suit will, originally they say the suit will take like a couple of weeks. They make him the suit in like a couple hours. They get fucking to it.
While he smokes and drinks. Like,
Well, it's the 80s. He can still smoke and drink inside.
That's the best. Yeah, like this stuff looks so shocking now, but you're like, oh, that's just every day back then.
Well, and then when they're done, I'm thinking like, oh, he's gonna have the dopest suit ever. And then he looks like a guy in a painting, like on the Scottish moors, and he should have like a setter next to him or something. He has like these high boots. And he's got this crazy vest and there's like some weird Argyle plaid.
Yeah, some kind of like hunting get up.
Yeah.
Put him in, yeah.
I'm going on the hunt.
It looked like someone...
Highlander.
Gonna find a fox.
Yeah. Looks like he went out for a game of golf and he's blind and he got dressed in the dark.
But,
That was just straight out of Connery's closet at that point.
I just showed up in what I'm
Well,
wearing.
It's the only thing our parents...
And we kind of didn't
Just
mention...
shoot the goddamn sheen.
We kind of mentioned in the fights, I wrote down that the like kids with foam swords just having a good old time have better choreography than the fights in this movie.
There's a lot of like rearing back and then swinging forward slowly so that someone can block it or move out of the way.
You know, I think
it's like stage fighting for high school kids.
I think sword fight choreography was really, it was good from about 1920 to 1940, and then it was good from about 2000 to now.
I mean, like the Errol Flynn era with like a lot of
the swashbuckling movies and stuff. And then there's this
1998 to now. You can't.
Okay, 98 Blade. You're right. And then there was just this long gap where everything was so like the choreography in like the Star Wars movies was terrible.
Well, this I actually wrote down that this looks like the first Obi-Wan Darth Vader fight. Like all the fights.
Oh yeah, like he's swinging around like he's trying to fend off bats in his house or something.
Well, and like. I mean, I guess the intention shouldn't matter, just the finished result. But in those fights, like that makes sense when you know more about it, like how expensive and time consuming like the rotoscoping was to make the lightsabers.
Yeah.
But these are just props.
Yep.
It shouldn't be that difficult to swing them around and make some contact now and then.
For the first, I think, half of the movie, Lambert and Ironside are using real swords because Lambert wanted it to be legit.
Yeah, he like almost severed his Ironside's thumb. Or something.
I know Ironside cut half.
I keep wanting to say Ironsides.
Oh, I mean like the lawyer in the in the wheelchair. No, it's
He was a former cop, actually.
You fucking turd. You fucking asshole. Whatever. All right. But yeah, Lambert got a little bit of his one of his tops of his fingers cut off, and they had to put it back on, and then he like smashed. He smashed
one of Ironside's
teeth.
tooth.
Yeah, like on like blocking something with like the hilt of the sword. He smashed him right in the mouth. But we gotta settle for a second. Let's just stop the presses and talk about Ironside's performance in this.
Oh, it's so good
because
he's over the top and it's amazing.
Chris, if you could pull up the quote, that would be great. Ironside had a quote about Highlander 2, and I think it's good enough to read in its entirety. But in the meantime, he's going over the top. So, like, he's just going for the stars.
The train scene?
The train scene is, oh my God.
Is he quickening that train? Because it's just, like, throwing lightning everywhere.
Because when he comes down, he decides, all right, my minions are dead. I got to come down to Earth. So he goes, poof, and he shoots down through the ground into a subway train.
He kind of does, like when the Power Rangers teleport. That's kind of what it's like.
It is.
Yeah.
And then he gets up and he's all invigorated.
Yeah.
And he decides that he's gonna just fuck with the people on this train because he's a bad guy. So he kills one guy, like he crushes his face or something.
Mm-hmm.
He does something. He kills some guy who talks to him. Then there's a kid who's there. He picks the kid up and he's like, "You ever wanted to drive one of these?" And the kid says, "Yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, me too." And he goes up front
and he like shows all of his teeth. To him.
He shows his all 36 teeth that he has. He goes up front. And I didn't realize that subway cars their controls are based on miles per hour because as he's turning it up and like it shows the MPH going up to like it's 40 and then
like
it's
600
and he gets that thing up to 600 miles an hour. People in the train. There's one scene people are holding on to like the things, they're flying backwards. At one point, you see a guy's face. It's like a really
claymation bug eyes.
There's a claymation bug eyes because it's like his face is coming off of his skull because they're going so fucking fast.
I was so surprised they didn't cut back to that and have his face explode.
I thought it was going to be like another Ironsides classic. Scanners. I thought it was going to be like a Scanners moment, and his head was just going to explode like a fucking watermelon.
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't believe that's how physics works exactly.
I don't think 600 miles an hour is enough to make your face come off
I
of
have
your skull.
I mean,
how fast do
Ironside
planes
quote
go?
here.
Faster than that.
Well, that's like Mach 1.
You experience some pushback during.
Well, it's not only that, is that it has to be continually accelerating. Because it's the acceleration rate that would throw people back. Because if it leveled off, everyone would just be fine in there.
And it's not it's not accelerating fast enough to put people into free fall in the middle of a train.
So what's the quote?
Okay, so it's a pretty long one. So he says, "Yeah, listen, I hated that script. We all did. Me, Sean, Chris. That would be Sean Connery and Chris Lambert.
Lambert,
say it right.
We all were in it for the money on this one. I mean it.
We're a horse."
The script read as if it had been written by a 13-year-old boy, but I'd never played a barbarian swordsman before, and this was my first big evil mastermind type, which I don't think is totally true, because
he was born that way.
Total Recall.
Yeah.
Also,
well, he wasn't a mastermind.
That's true.
He's a henchman.
He's not really a mastermind.
He's not
in this one
Cohagen.
either. He's got a pretty shitty plan in this one.
He's not Cohagen in that one.
I figured if I was going to do this stupid movie, I might as well have fun and go as far over the top as I possibly could. All that eye rolling and foaming at the mouth was me deciding that if I was going to be in a piece of shit like that movie, I was going to be the most memorable fucking thing in it, and I think I succeeded.
He did.
And he totally did.
The speed of sound is also 768 miles per hour, so he didn't even get to Mach 1. And I don't know why people are melting.
Yeah, that's...
It's not enough.
Maybe they're melting out of just sheer surprise.
Like, it's like putting an astronaut in a centrifuge. The worst thing is that some people would pass out.
Yeah.
They wouldn't fight, because at the end of that subway scene, it smashes through a wall, and
they're dead.
That kid that he was talking to, everybody's fucking dead on that, and he just walks out, and he's like, he says some witty quip, and then he just walks away.
Yeah.
And then
like liquefied people just seeping out of the
he would actually be covered at that moment, because it would just come up to the front.
Yeah, when it stops,
and he would just be in a human soup as he came out.
Now, what kind of qualifications does Connor have to lead?
I was curious about this too.
It's because he can see everything.
Yeah, but
he's all knowing.
So is that okay? So there's all these scientists.
He doesn't know that it's secretly safe to take the shield down.
Well, here's the thing: is that we haven't really mentioned that the shield is up because the ozone layer is going away, and people are. Spoiler alert: the love interest from the first movie, who Connor loves and marries,
she's dead.
She's
dead.
She's dead.
Yeah.
She gets melted by radiation I think they're in Africa or something. I thought it was.
Yeah. Why are
he's
they
not
there?
He's not even in the United States. I guess they're going on like AIDS relief, and so she's melted. They couldn't get the actress, so they have to wrap her face up. So, but she dies of radiation poisoning. She makes him promise to save everybody. So somehow he becomes the head of this cult. He's like the head of the Manhattan Project.
Pretty much.
But he's not a scientist.
With
no qualifications whatsoever.
And no qualifications.
Criminal record.
No scientific acumen.
Yeah, he was a murder suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No social security number.
And he drops he's like Edward Nash in the first one. He assumes the identity of like a dead toddler from whenever, like earlier in the century.
It's a classic trick.
Yep, But now
who hasn't done that?
That's what all immortal people do.
No, that's what people do who assume new identities. Yeah.
So that's how he gets an identity, right? Well, then now he's Connor fucking McLeod, who doesn't exist.
That's true.
So what's up with that?
I adopted a baby and changed his name legally to Connor McLeod, and then I killed that baby.
And then there was a quickening.
Yeah.
Well, I was able
but he was a very small baby, so it really only got me through a week or so.
But so he's Connor McLeod built that whole thing, and now he's teamed up with the lady who's like the head of the terrorist quote unquote organization that wants to bring the shield down, because they find out that the UV rays are back to normal. The ozone's repaired itself. And
she found that super technical readout that said
ozone level normal. It
said acceptable or something like that.
Yeah, it's like normal. Yeah. And then there's some really great
Has he met with his scientist buddy?
Oh yeah, they have that operation where they break in to the headquarters.
And they have the computer monitor that's clear. His scientist buddy does, which like
you can read it backwards.
Even if that technology is possible, no one would ever.
Why
go
would
for
you
that.
do that?
Yeah. So you're just walking past and like seeing just mirror image pornog all the time. Like,
so they break into the facility and then it's this huge operation. And they just find this computer screen that says, "Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
don't worry about it."
So we then I think get to the cabbie scene.
yeah.
We need to rest on the cabbie scene.
I think before the cabbie scene happens,
Take a break.
we should take a little break.
A little pee-pee
and
break.
When we come back,
all right,
it'll be cabbie time.
listeners, go take a pee-pee or poo-poo if you have to.
Even though in podcast land, this break's probably only going to be like 30 seconds long.
This is Less Than or Sequel to. We're back from pee-pee breaks.
Yep.
Hopefully you're back too.
I'm back.
If not, we're going.
Yeah.
We're back on it.
You're lost. I hope you press
You're
play.
just tuning in.
So we're getting into the cabbie scene, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I also want to know. So Katana is down on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
He knows a lot about pop culture because he makes a Wizard of Oz reference when he lands in the subway car. He says, "This don't look like Kansas," or "This isn't Kansas anymore," or whatever.
Yeah.
He makes a clear Wizard of Oz reference, so he
does.
knows like he's down with American pop culture.
Yep.
Well,
they don't want to play it like he's like fish out of water with this guy.
I think he ad-libbed it.
Yeah, probably.
I think he just made it up, and they just went, "Oh, okay." Yeah,
I'm sure
cool.
even the scenes where he had lines written for him, he was ad-libbing because "fuck you" is what he was saying.
Well, so this guy, he wants to go find, I guess, like, I think he's going. Is he going to? I can't remember where he's going at this point. But he gets in the cab.
Yeah.
With the best cabbie ever or worst cabbie ever.
Yeah.
He gives out his full fucking name immediately. Like, "Hi, I'm Joe Schmo," or whatever, and he won't shut the fuck up. I think he's drinking while he's driving too.
Yeah, he has a bottle. He looks at Michael Ironside and like, he looks pretty metal. He must be into music. Will you bone my sister? She's also a musician.
He says that he's the music business. He said because I wrote down music business
so he could
4
be
times.
just like a producer or like he's a Rick Rubin maybe.
This guy is talking at 150 miles an hour.
He also had dice in the mirror.
He did. Well, you have to have dice in the mirror if you're a cabbie. I mean, he says
that's in the
this cab was
that's
rare.
in the Fresh Prince lyrics, so you do have to have dice in the mirror.
Yeah. Well, he's so rare.
This movie follows Fresh Prince rules. But he does. He says, "Are you look? You're in the music business. You must be in the music business. My sister's in the music business. I should introduce you to my sister." Essentially, pimping his sister out.
And you're talking at half cabbie speed. He's talking so fast.
I can't go full cabbie
For
speed.
the benefit of our listeners, we need to slow it down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want you to turn into like the subway people. If I talked full speed, you would be just like those guys on the subway.
Your
And then
eyes
Michael
would
Ironside
turn into
gets pissed
claymation.
and puts his sword through the windshield, and the cabbie's not upset at all.
No, he's amazed.
He's like, whoa, what's going on? It's crazy.
Whoa, hey, whoa! And then he gets out and he's still exclaiming.
Yeah.
And then Michael Ironside comes around the front, and then he kind of leans down, but next to the driver's side window. He elbows the window in, and it shatters like a pane of glass, like a windshield. Like I don't think at that point
He quickened that window.
He quickened, yeah. It shatters like it
just disappears.
Yeah, like a house window, and then the guy is still whoa, hey, whoa, shit, fuck, whoa, and then he punctures the tire with his sword.
Mm-hmm.
Basically tells the guy,
"Put it on my tab," or something.
Yeah,
like that.
put it on my tab or something.
This guy has a cabbie tab.
Yep.
Yeah.
So and then he just walks away, while the guy is still like, "Whoa, yeah, oh, whoa!" Like I don't know what the fuck where they found this guy. I don't know if it was a Spanish guy and they 80-yard the lines afterward. I don't know what the hell that was all. I don't know the benefit of that scene.
Nobody does, except that it was awesome.
I guess so. And I guess it was after that we get to the point where we referenced earlier where Connery tells that lady on the plane that
just sit on his face.
He whispers it. And I wouldn't have known if I hadn't I had subtitles on.
If you weren't a big boy.
But he does.
Imagine the kids. Oh, that sounds silly.
Why would you sit on his face? That's a funny
must
joke.
Be wrestling.
Mommy and Daddy wrestle like that all the time.
But he does. He tells him that you know what they say about dark-haired women. I like to shit on men's faces. I just made it sound like he said, shit all over the men's face.
Shit on the
shit on the chest. But he says that the dark-haired women like to sit on men's faces, and then he says that the stewardess comes by with some food. He didn't like the look of that food.
No.
He says, I don't eat anything I can't identify. Well, that's not always true.
Yeah.
So while they're flying in this plane that is a 2-engine propeller plane
Yes.
that left Scotland and is going to
cross-Atlantic flight.
Yeah, a transatlantic flight.
He hitched a ride with Charles Lindbergh.
And this is 2024. Like
Yeah.
they already had jets.
Oh, of course.
Like
They had
jets in the
that
first film.
protects
Well, in
the
'91.
Earth
This is
from UV rays. They should have better planes than this.
Yeah.
it is because they made the movie in '91
Yeah.
when they had 747s.
Sure.
Why not just have them on a 7? And that's the other thing. You mentioned
Just dangle a model in front of a black screen and film that.
it looked like it was a matte painting, and they just spun the propellers. It was worse than the movie Airplane.
Well, the worst thing is that they were making it out like he was actually just from the past and not a space alien. Even though at this
fly?
point he knows, and apparently he knew the whole time that he was a space alien.
You mean I can fly?
So
At the
he's
airport?
amazed that he's in a flying machine, and he's like looking out the window
I think they
Like a little kid.
like a little kid.
I think they took like 3 different movie scripts and put them in a blender and then just pasted lines together.
Yeah.
This is around the time where I think I wrote, I just want to go to bed.
Well,
Have we gotten to Psychic Cook yet? Does anyone remember that?
what?
At one point there's just an ad on TV for the Psychic Cook.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like a.
It's a cooking show and he's a medium or something.
Because they do there's a lot of that. Like there's ads. Oh, and they show
Oh, that was actually back before the train, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's on the train as the
Yeah.
psychic cook. But then Sean Connery's also on the plane, and they have the safety video where the plane is
Oh,
going
yeah.
down, and everyone's like super panicked, and then the plane
it's
crashes.
Horrific.
And then it's like, thanks for flying, blah blah blah. And then I thought that was actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
And I do have to give something I like in watching foreign older movies is, especially if they're older movies set in the future, like, is there anything they got right? There is a guy on the subway basically using a Google Glass.
Oh yeah, he's got the glasses, and he's watching the video, and then
And
Iron
it's
Size
just-
is in his face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just because like when you see from his perspective, he's just seeing TV in one eye.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of accurate.
He's
Yeah,
got,
they got that.
the Oculus Rift or whatever.
Except by
Yeah.
2025, I mean, the Google Glass is already gone. They already stopped.
They'll have Google. They'll have Google Contacts or Google Inserts. Yeah. This movie is also basically just Hocus Pocus, where they're going around trying to suck life force out of each other.
I think at this point too is when they have the first McLeod Katana fight, where they're up like in an old building.
Wait, McLeod fighting with a katana, or McLeod
No,
fighting a man
Fighting
named Katana?
Both.
a man named
Okay.
General Katana.
General-
This is General, who's apparently a general of jack shit at this point.
He's a
'cause
General Katana, and
He
then
seems to
he's-
only be in charge of those bird
He's a
guys
general
who
of
are dead.
sweet hair. Are immortals also Samsons? Because they all have long ass hair.
the Keurig had the long hair too.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't they? I mean, they
Well, you can go to the
they
fucking
live a
bar-
long time. You must
Yeah.
get sick of going to the barber.
Well,
I don't know, because Lambert's got a rockin' pony. Actually, no, when he's banging that woman on the sidewalk, I'm not sure whose hair is longer.
when he's raping her.
Yeah.
I wrote down.
She also says something about...
he came inside her, guys. They just met.
She
What?
also says something like...
Where to go?
Well, it's because he can't have kids anymore.
Yeah, but
he
where
was
to-
suddenly an immortal.
she
so
doesn't
he
know
didn't have
that.
to
She's
worry
like,
about
you just dumped a load in there. I didn't give you
hell,
the.
he doesn't care.
I didn't give you the thumbs up for that.
Well, she also asks what's going on, and he just goes, I cannot die.
I can't.
And he's like, let's bone. And she says something about like, oh, you think every Saturday night's this crazy? And it's like, yeah, I think you fuck strangers every Saturday night.
Well, they have that fight, and then it's shitty choreography again. I did like the where McLeod gets on top of the elevator, and then the elevator falls all the way down, and he gets all busted up, and then he snaps himself back into place like Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's kind of neat. Like
That
that's
was cool,
So
yeah.
he's like, he gets busted up, but he just goes snap, 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 and he like bends all of his bones back.
Yeah,
into
that's
place.
like a missed opportunity from the first movie where they never really
Dad.
showed anyone getting like really messed up and then sort of fixing themselves.
Have we gotten to the Shield? I know we've talked about the Shield Corporation because someone has a satellite too, or I may be way off base. But is the Shield Corporation station in a pyramid?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's like a
it's-
ziggurat.
I'm like
It's a
NASA's already pretty cool. Put them in a pyramid.
It's
I
pretty-
don't know if we could handle.
Well,
like a
it's the
ziggurat.
pyramid from Blade Runner that
Yeah.
they shamelessly ripped off. And the board meeting, the room is from Blade Runner. I mean, it's such a huge ripoff
Yeah.
of Blade Runner.
Well, they this actually
I
the
can't
next
wait for that sequel. We can do that.
Oh, no,
I can't,
yeah.
I can't wait at
The-
all.
the next-
Harrison Ford.
What's it? Wait.
Harrison Ford when he has his voice box removed.
This is
Harrison
Harrison
Ford.
Ford.
He's been eating nails for the past 30 years.
He does have the.
He sounds crazy.
He's
Oh.
only. He's actually. He just eats gravel
Yeah.
to make his voice more gravel.
Wait, they're not going to have Harrison Ford in that sequel. Are
Yeah.
they? How?
He's read the
Yeah,
script.
he's a replicant. He should have died.
He is a
already.
replicant. He should be dead.
Maybe not. But so the next scene is when Ramirez shows up and he decides to sneak up on the Highlander, and then they have a weird like bro sword fight. Like they're bros, but they decide to sword fight just to like
With
catch up.
It's like
with
foreplay.
pieces. I just want to put that out there because they are husbands. This is a sword fight with pieces of metal,
Yeah.
not with their wieners.
no,
That came
Okay.
later.
no, yeah. that's-
Just like Ramirez.
Nice double on top.
But they have a sword fight, and he says, Connor says, "You've been dead for 500 years," and then Connery says, "So," and that's the explanation. Like he's back.
Mhm.
He died in the first movie. He's back,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter.
And
Don't
I,
ask why.
I also wrote down. I'm not sure which fight it was in because there's a lot of crappy fighting going on around this time. Somebody has a switchblade claymore. Because someone has a long sword. I think it's Michael Ironside.
Yep.
At
Yeah.
one point, it just makes like a clicking sound.
Well, the Kurgan had that.
Oh, he
did.
snapped
In
it
the
into
first
place.
movie.
He snaps the.
No,
sword
remember
into-
we had like the thing. It was a scene I remember from the first one because he like held it up to his face like in this dramatic scene where he's getting ready. Like it was right after he shaved his head. So he holds up the sword and he like presses a button or something and like two little blades come out of the hilt. And he's obviously surprised. The actor is obviously surprised by this because he flinches like hardcore in the scene, which I always thought was funny that they left that take in.
Like that's your sword.
Like, oh, I'm surprised. I wondered what this button did.
So once Ramirez and the whole thing that Ramirez, Connor, and the lady, I already forget her name. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
They have to go break into Max, which is a prison.
Mm-hmm.
Not Super Max, but Max.
Regular Max.
Regular Max.
Yeah.
Max
From
Light.
Netflix?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. It tells you.
Get
It's
the
this really
Max.
long. It's
He'll
this.
pick your movies for
It's
you.
this really long
wait,
process.
what?
and-
Oh, this might just be on PS3. I don't know.
Max will pick. I don't. Max doesn't
No,
pick
I've
my.
got
I
it.
pick my movies.
I've
I'm
got
not
it
gonna-
on mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a long process, and then it
the
just
Max.
suggests something that you've already seen.
And
so,
you
I mean,
never
it's-
wind up watching anything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Hey,
pretty accurate
all
because
Chris, you should watch Ghostbusters
Yeah.
again.
exactly like you put in things. It's like, hey, you should watch Ghostbusters, and you go, no.
No, Max.
Thanks, Max. You're on the
Um,
right track, but go fuck yourself.
Well, they need to bust into this prison because the doctor who was like in charge of the Shield thing with McLeod has been thrown in jail by Ted McGinley.
Dr. Cox.
No, like John C. McGinley, not Ted McGinley from Married with Children.
Yes, the wacky neighbor.
It's John's brother Ted.
Yeah.
Well, he said he puts this guy in jail because he knows that the UV or the radiation is okay now. The ozone layer's back,
Mm-hmm.
but that's going to be bad for Shield business. So he puts him in jail because apparently they also have a jail for this corporation too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I guess that's all right. So they have to break in there to go get him or to find out the coordination. They have to get coordinates where the shield is vulnerable, so they
Mhm.
can get up above it.
So they can't. They also learn that you also learn that from Dr. Cox says that you can't shut down the shield because it would create an energy spike. Turning it off would create an energy spike that would like destroy like half the world.
You have to cross the stream.
So it would be too dangerous to shut down the shield at this point. So it's business and also a little bit of safety. So Dr. Cox is
And
not totally
pleasure.
evil.
So their plan to get into Max is they get into this old Lincoln or whatever.
Yeah.
And they just drive right through the front door,
Yeah.
and they get torn apart by machine gun. Because there's a bunch of guys. They know they're coming.
Oh yeah.
And there's all these guys all lined up, and they get riddled with bullets like Bonnie and Clyde.
Yep.
And then they're all fucked up. And then they pop the trunk.
She's in the trunk, perfectly fine.
She's in the trunk,
Yeah.
not a scratch on her. She's like, oh, I didn't know what was going on.
Apparently,
wow.
they didn't see the Breaking Bad finale.
No.
They know that the machine gun bullets go right through trunks.
Yeah. Good pull. So they
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry.
So they then take the bodies up to a doctor to pronounce them dead, I guess, because you needed that
Yeah.
when they are literally like it's like when Sonny gets mowed down in The Godfather, like it's that level of that many bullets.
They're destroyed. Yeah.
And then they just get up off the table. They have a little conversation behind a sheet in the same room with everybody else. Then they
I actually just before you go any further, I actually think this is a pretty good plan.
yeah,
And it's pretty clever for like just in the film. I mean, it's a pretty clever like script device to have them just go in and get completely destroyed and
Why
then
not?
get brought in as bodies and then sort of put themselves back together. It's a good idea.
I actually thought that part was kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of the middle of this movie that isn't stupid.
Well, it's almost like the mechanics of the individual scenes are okay,
Yeah.
but then you put them all together and get the premise and the story together, and it doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
So they
And then when you remember they're all supposed to be aliens, it doesn't work. Yeah.
Well,
if they
there's a long portion of the movie where we don't hear anything about that, all the way to it's pretty much after the first act. We don't hear anything about them being aliens.
Which, to go off course a little bit, there's an alternate cut of the movie
Renegade
where they
cut.
take all of that out.
the
Yeah.
Renegade cut, which
The Donner cut of Highlander 2, yeah.
which we purposefully did not watch because we
Yeah.
needed to see it in its original
it's
state.
the original
Because
form that we're
like the reviews for that one are like it's not great, but it can be entertaining. Like the reviews are definitely much more favorable than the shittening. Yeah.
So they go through the prison. They find the guy, the doctor, who's been there for like 12 hours, but it looks like he's been there for 10 years, and he's already almost dead.
Mm-hmm.
He gives Connor the last coordinate he needs to go and find this place where he can get above the shield to see if everything's okay. And then they get trapped in a room like the Temple of Doom with a fan that's coming down, and so Ramirez sacrifices himself.
And that was shot so poorly, like okay, I guess the fan's descending, but
well,
it's very slowly though.
Oh yeah, well it varies speed depending on the.
It's not even spinning that. It's not even spinning that fast. I feel like they could have jumped up, like they could have timed it and jumped on top of the blades.
If being
Highlanders.
Mm-hmm. If you
So-
think so.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't get their head, they're fine.
Yeah, it's a good point. They just do a handstand. And
Chop
crawl on
their
top of
feet
it.
off.
Who cares? It'll grow back.
But they
Wait, does the stuff grow? Like if they get their arm cut off or something, would
it has
just grow
to
back?
I think so.
I think you just
you like put it back on.
Well, because they could still be alive,
Yeah.
right? But then not.
would you grow 2 Highlanders out of it?
Oh, could you?
It's like
What if you slice one right down the
Yeah.
middle, head and all,
they
and
grow-
then just separated them? Would you have 2 Connor McLeods?
partly cloudy.
Partly cloudy,
How many cloud
A
puns can
chance
we do?
of pain.
partly McCloudy.
Partly McCloudy. But so this is weird. This
The
is
immortal banter in this movie is really, really lame. though.
They missed some
Like,
seriously good puns.
Yeah, like him and Ramirez go back and forth, and it's really lame. Basically, just like, oh, I haven't done that in a while, or you know.
But this is when Ramirez, I guess, sacrifices himself, kind of, because he blasts away in a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
His first wife.
he takes his sword, he sticks it into the ground, and then he like holds his hand up to it, and then he tells them, you know, you have to get out of here, Highlander.
Yeah, you know what's weird is that like the fan still kills him.
You know what though?
But
when he does that, they play fucking Amazing Grace on bagpipes.
no, there's all kinds of weird instances of bagpipes coming
Every
in.
time Ramirez is walking around, they play fucking bagpipes.
You know what's weird because
They're just winking at the audience, like, "Hey, we know we fucked the casting up in the first movie."
It's this Egyptian Spanish guy, and it's
Who
all
spent
bagpipes.
some time in Japan,
Yeah.
but found his true love in Scotland.
So the thing with the fan is that he's holding, and they get out of the room while he's like sort of holding the fan up.
Yeah.
Why didn't he just get out of the room too?
This is when it was starting to get late while I was watching this, and it's so boring I was falling asleep off and on. Like I missed a lot of it.
I was thrown off too. This is when because I don't think I mentioned this. Do you know who, Chris? Do you know who did the music for this?
Who did the music for this?
Stuart Copeland.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is weird because it sounds like it's like the Guitar Hero tracks that aren't the actual tracks.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of real, like wienery like guitar.
There's
rock
like
going
synth
on.
guitar all over the place.
And this was 1991, where
Yeah.
people should know better than to, than
should
to
have
be
been
doing
grunge.
that. Oh, at this point, it
Yeah.
should have been at least a little
It
bit.
would have fit with their hair.
Yeah. Yeah, like it smells like Teen Spirit comes in at the end instead
like,
of the bagpipes.
oh, you know what? When they go to the Shield generator, it should have been Black Hole Sun.
Yeah.
Oh,
that would have been
yeah.
perfect.
Oh,
I
it's such
think
a
we're
missed
still-
opportunity.
I think we're still 2 years away from
that
that
93?
song.
Yeah, that was later.
It could have been
Yeah.
because they recut the movie and they actually shot more.
Yeah,
they reshot
they-
scenes
yeah.
4 years after in '95. They could have put Black Hole Sun in there.
Yeah.
I do have kind of a random thing to bring up though. So they're aliens.
Yeah.
Why do they recognize Earth holy ground?
I wrote that too.
Oh yeah, that's a
They
good
shouldn't
question.
care. Like
Yeah.
we're just all
Why would they care?
Yeah. So is J-Man? Was he a Highlander?
Jesus was a Highlander.
He must have been.
Yeah.
You know
'Cause-
what? If Jesus was a Highlander, I think that a lot more people would be down
Yeah.
with Christianity.
Okay,
Yeah.
it makes sense,
So
right?
you've got
so
the Kurgan, and if you're named after
yes, it
so
does make sense.
yeah.
yeah.
and if you're named after your like original place, so you got the Kurgan, the Highlander, the Nazarene.
The Christ.
Yeah, you get the Nazarene. He supposedly dies, but
Yeah.
gets out of his.
Just
out of his
kidding,
tomb.
guys.
He comes 3 days later. He comes out. He's like, "It's time for me to take out the trash."
Yeah, but he's got the weird Belgian accent too for some reason.
All right, you guys. And he comes out and he gets quickened up into space.
Yeah, he gets quick.
he gets.
Yeah.
So when you
Oh
go
my
to,
God,
it's weird.
Jesus was a Highlander.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Oh my God,
But does that mean Jesus was from Zeist?
he is.
Yeah.
Wow. Which one was he in the?
Jesus
He was
Zeist.
the one of the rebellion. He was like an underling in the rebellion.
Yeah, he's fucking around with Katana. Is like, I hate this Jesus cat. Get him out of here. I banish you
Oh,
to the
that would
past.
be so. That is a huge missed opportunity in the Highlander universe.
What, to have Jesus come? Oh my God.
To have Jesus be a Highlander.
He comes back and
This was the 80s though. It wasn't as like progressive. as
Oh, it
today.
would have been so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
well, if anybody out there who's listening has any juice in Hollywood, reboot the Highlander.
Any Jews
with
in
Jesus.
Hollywood?
Any Jews listening? If you have juice,
You could even you could just have it be a mention. Just reference Jesus as a Highlander.
sure you know. Do you know that Jesus was a Highlander?
Yeah. Just just a stupid throwaway line like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Ramirez, how many are there of us?" Like, well, I heard there was some. I can't do a discussion.
You
Oh,
should-
there's supposedly some carpenter over in the Middle East, but I don't know about that.
There was one guy who was good at building chairs.
Or somebody to be like,
And
oh, we're Highlanders, no one cares about us. And then be like, well, what about that one guy?
He built chairs. He also was crucified on a piece of wood too.
Ironic.
Jesus was ironic, don't you think? But
Oh, like the mercy seat.
so this, yeah. So the this is so they escape the prison and they get off. They both get off and they get out of there. And then John C. McGinley gives Katana some guff, and Katana turns into a real ball buster because he squeezes. He gives him an Irish handshake.
Oh, the sound effect there.
He gives him the-
nasty.
And he grabs him by the scrot and he squeezes it. And John C. McGinley sells the "I'm getting my testicles
Oh, he
crushed"
does, yeah.
with the "Ah!" He has the highest pitched voice,
Yeah.
and then he throws him out the fucking window.
By his balls.
Just throws him right out
Yeah.
the club,
Mm-hmm.
chucks him right out there, and then he and Connor have like a fight on top of a truck that's going that they're when they're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Connor kicks him off the fucking truck because get the fuck out of here, dummy. Some other shit happens that I don't remember because at this point I was kind of half paying attention.
Yeah.
And then we get to the final battle, which is at the shield generator.
Yeah.
On the moon of Endor. So they have a fight, and they're superimposed in front of this because you can see the shield generator through the characters when they have the wide shots.
Yep.
And Connor cuts off Katana's head, and then he quickens him.
Yeah.
and then he gets inside.
Why didn't he bring Ramirez back again?
I don't know.
That's a good point.
Ramirez,
Because he didn't have an extra quicken.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Can he bring back all the Highlanders? Like, could he?
Kurgan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
hey, Kurgan, I
That
know
would've
we've had
been
our
better, like,
differences.
yeah. We have to stick together.
Okay, so he gets the quickening, and then he gets into the beam
Yeah.
of the generator, and that makes it explode with the quickening power
Why
and
would
everything.
Why wouldn't he turn the off switch off?
Don't know. Because that would be too dangerous, because as we established earlier, just shutting it off would destroy.
So does he absorb the power of the shield? Does he quicken the shield?
He quickens the shield.
Okay.
So what he does, he quickens the shield and he comes
Buy
out.
that.
The shield
For
is
$1?
Yeah.
So at the end of the movie, the shield is shut down. So you would think at this point he goes back to Zeist, leads the rebellion to victory,
It's in the zeitgeist.
and then that's the end. However, that's not what happens. He just steps out of the now defunct shield generator, makes out with the lady,
Comes inside of her.
and then credits. So the rebels on Zeist are still totally fucked, basically.
Right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't go back. The one thing that Ironside came to Earth to stop happening wasn't going to happen anyway.
Nope.
Making the villain of this movie completely pointless.
Yep.
McLeod had no interest in going back.
He's ready to die.
He didn't want to save anybody. So that entire planet is doomed to like a totalitarian fascist
good.
rulership.
Fuck him.
Good.
Fuck Zeist.
Nobody cares about Zeist.
So there's no resolution to that Zeist part. The only thing Zeist was there for was to bring Immortals back, which is the stupidest thing. There's so many ways they could have just like...
Katana could have been like, maybe he was a... Oh, and this is where I've actually thought about doing this. So this is a new segment for Less Than a Sequel to. We're going to switch the format up. I'd like to get an idea of what everybody's ideal Highlander 2 would have been. So Chris, I'll start with you. What would your ideal Highlander 2 have been?
Okay,
Think on that, James. You get some time.
I could
Yeah.
continue. I could even go with the takes place in the future kind of thing. It could be a certain amount of time has passed. Maybe more Highlanders, more Immortals
They've been Highlanded.
have been born.
Yep.
And sort of the cycle. It turns out that it's like a cycle that happens.
Like a natural order of life or something.
Yeah.
Like there has to be there has to be
Right,
more than
because
one.
if Connor McLeod was from 16th century or whatever, maybe it's just a cycle that happens like every 500 years.
Yeah.
So maybe you could just start again,
Mm-hmm.
and there could be another battle of Highlanders. You don't have to go too crazy from the original formula. Just have another
They have
battle of Highlanders.
They have a battle with Christopher Lambert and Katana, just like Mortal Kombat.
Well, okay, if you want to use the original characters, you could still have Katana. He could just be a new Immortal,
A new lander.
a new lander.
Newlander,
Yeah.
an
Have the
Outlander,
new lander come in.
Zoolander.
Yeah.
I think they just you don't have to stray too far from that formula because I think it's good. It's just a bunch of dudes who want to kill each other.
So you just would have had like it's a new lander. You wouldn't
Okay,
have
so
gone with-
maybe as a twist, you could have two
you're gonna
Immortals,
Shyamalan it.
two Immortals that were like bros,
Yeah,
and then it came down to they were the only two left.
like if Ramirez and Connor were the only two, because they referenced that in the first one.
Husband
says,
against wife.
What if it was just you and me? Would you cut off my head?
Right. So then what happens
I'd
was just
live
the two of them.
That'd
together
be cool.
forever.
Sure,
You
and I
matrimony.
can live forever, just stuck
So
together
they
like
could either
wolves.
Yeah.
they could either get married or they could fight and kill it. One could kill the
Yeah.
other one.
Yeah, James, what would you want for Highlander 2? If you could make Highlander 2,
Like from scratch.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've
Like
seen
I
enough.
have to keep the Lambert around.
Yeah, well, okay, just it's 1991.
Maybe
Mm.
not
You're making-
necessarily. You could just have Lambert like a little bit in it. He's got to be
No, no,
there
no.
somewhere. But
No.
no,
No.
Whole movie,
This is 1991.
main character.
You're
Okay.
you're in charge of it.
Yeah.
You got Connor McLeod. He's coming back. What are you doing?
Well, you know what? I think in the first movie, I don't know because my whole idea might just be going away now. I don't really recall when he cuts their heads off and they get quickened. What happens to the bodies? Like they're still there.
They're
just
still
headless.
there.
No,
Yeah.
the bodies turn into energy and they float away.
Do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought
Do they just go all lightningy and disappear?
so because he cuts off that black guy's head in the first one, and then the Kurgan cuts off his head and then he like goes.
Oh yeah, okay. Because otherwise, Connor would just be in prison forever
for cutting off everybody's
Yeah.
head.
Cutting off a head.
But they find the heads.
because he gets caught.
That's the whole point of the first movie. They find that guy's head in the parking lot.
Oh, so maybe they don't.
But sometimes they do.
Okay, let's go
Okay.
on the
so-
fact that they're still there.
Okay, so there's some type of mortal remains.
The respawn
Sure.
time is low on them.
Yeah,
have
you got to kill like a dozen of them before
because
they
it's
start getting recycled.
because it's late 80s 90s and evil corporation stuff is still pretty big.
Yep.
So it'll have an older guy, some type of terminal illness, but he somehow gets wind of the Highlander. So there's a guy that, maybe we have someone that looks like Christopher Lambert painted it, in like the background of a painting or something from the 16 or 1700s.
Mhm.
Oh.
And you see him.
So he wants to
and-
gain the Highlander power.
Yeah, so he somehow gets a hold of like mortal remains of other immortals, and I know it's 91, so this is like kind of shooting for the moon. And they take bone marrow or something, and he's taking, so it's helping him, but he needs a real living one for some of the material.
Ah.
Like the Highlander's
goes
last
back.
piece.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty
so
good.
he's kind of
Yeah.
like he's like a half-lander, like he's almost there.
Halflander.
He's a
He's a
Midlander.
Midlander. He's a
He's-
sea level.
Yeah, so he's strong enough to fight him maybe, or he has henchmen maybe who can fight him, but he really needs Connor for the
To become more
final bit.
powerful, yeah.
Yeah, and so
that could be McGinley.
that-
McGinley could be that.
yeah.
guy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that sidesteps the need for Zeist or the third one where they uncover like
So you essentially want to make the Wolverine.
Oh, so you could
I
have
guess,
it.
yeah.
You could have it come.
I
back.
didn't even think of that,
The
but
Silver
but
Samurai
that would've
shows
worked.
up. He says, "All right,
So yours
But
would
you
just
need-
be no new Highlanders.
right. No, there's no new Highlanders.
you and George Bush, no new
Yeah.
Highlanders.
No new
There's
Highlanders.
no new Highlanders, but the
Read my lips."
immortality is still the crux of the storyline.
Oh yeah.
Because that's a pretty neat thing. So you need to have something important about that.
Okay.
Or maybe there is a new one born and and
Connor has to protect it.
yeah.
Nice.
That's good. That's a good idea.
That's good.
Let's
I like,
do it.
I like both those ideas.
Yeah. I
Um,
didn't realize that was so Wolverine.
that's the Wolverine. Yeah,
It is
it's
the
the-
exact
it's the-
same story. Yeah.
basically, you want the Silver Samurai. He's already got katana
Yeah.
swords, so we're already halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just steal his Highlander power. What if you made it even more so? He doesn't need to kill Connor, but he needs to put him in a machine that will take his Highlander power away.
Yeah. Just
But
keep
he's-
him alive.
He's
and
not.
just-
He's got the Highlander power, but he's not immortal himself. But he needs Connor for
Then
the
we're just
immortality.
doing Thor.
Yeah. Yeah. Then it's just Thor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But I think to
Which is
Sides-
it's just
you
all
need to-
the Marvel
yeah,
movies. Just put
yeah,
them all together.
yeah.
Marvel needs to get a hold of the Highlander rights. Because I feel like if there's a movie that I've seen recently that could use a reboot, most of the reboots do not need to be made, and we're actually going to be getting to that maybe sometime in the future.
Oh, but
But-
this was long enough ago. This is 20 years ago now. The old guy could have been a Nazi.
Oh. Especially in Argentina.
You know what it is? It's
Yeah.
Joseph. It's Joseph Mengele,
Yeah.
and he knows the science. It's just like Boys from Brazil.
Yeah.
You know, oh, he wants to bring Hitler back, and he needs Connor because Hitler
Oh,
was a
and they-
Highlander.
they
Maybe
don't die-
Hitler's not
They
dead.
don't die.
Hitler's not dead. He's a
they don't-
Highlander.
Yeah. Or they don't die unless you keep. And this would just be a good setting piece. I
Jesus
guess.
and Hitler fight.
They don't die unless
Oh,
you
yeah.
cut their head off. So Mengele has like basically like a dissected immortal somewhere. He's kept the head on, so he's still alive. But it's a living autopsy.
Oh. Okay, so you've got.
So there
Genghis-
is a hidden one. There is one that he somehow hid.
So you've got Hitler,
Yeah.
Genghis Khan.
You don't need Hitler.
Wait,
Hitler's
we're
played
good.
out, but
We got and
Goebbels.
let's see who else we have. We just turn out that all the villains throughout history have been
Yeah.
Highlanders, and then it's all of them versus Jesus,
Connor, Duncan,
John F. Kennedy,
JFK was a Highlander.
JFK, the Highlander.
Abraham Lincoln, Highlander.
Yeah, all these people had to go into hiding to keep the secret of the Highlanders after
Yeah.
they got they were legit killed, and then just to keep the secret, they had to go underground.
Julius Caesar, Highlander.
that's a good one.
Yeah, so you just have every good guy and every bad guy throughout history. This huge battle.
Actually,
And
I'm not opposed to this idea.
Shyamalan twist. Invert it so all the bad guys were secretly good, but
Oh, they're on
it's
the
bad
good side.
PR. Yeah.
So then Hitler has to kill Jesus because Jesus has an
Yeah.
evil plan.
yeah,
That's a good idea.
Oh my god. All right.
that
I don't
might
know
be
about
that might be a bridge too far.
that
but-
might be a bit much.
But the Wolverine,
I don't
the
know if modern
Wolverine
audiences-
Lander would have been a good
I'd
movie.
go see it.
the wolf.
Wolverine, you could have a tie-in. He's also a Highlander.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Marvel needs to
Pull
buy
it
the
into
rights.
the Marvel universe.
Fox, Fox. I'm addressing Fox Studios right now.
Straight to
Fox.
Fox.
Fox,
Well-
listen to me. Hey, shut the fuck up. Fox, buy the rights to the Highlander and make this fucking movie. Highlander Wolverine crossover.
We want Fox now. We want Disney.
We want Marvel to have it ideally, but
But
Marvel doesn't have
then we get
Wolverine.
Disney.
Disney doesn't have
Oh,
Wolverine.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fox
You're
needs to
right.
get it.
All right,
I
Fox.
don't know.
In,
Fox, get the
in
Highlander.
X-Men Age of Apocalypse,
Wait.
X-Men Age of the Highlander.
Who owns Highlander
Ramirez
now?
is Apocalypse.
Ramirez he's been manipulating events throughout history.
Oh my God.
He's an Egyptian. He's an Egyptian just like Apocalypse.
We've come.
Yeah.
We've
Oh
found
my
it.
God, this is great.
What's going on?
What struck me, especially with how bad this movie was, is how the franchise kept going.
Yeah.
It rebounded and said, you know what?
It
Fuck
did
that.
get better.
And I think actually,
I think
I know people are down on reboots and stuff. This one would be an okay reboot.
it would be great.
I don't think a movie so much. Maybe like an HBO or a Netflix show.
I
where
think
you
it'd be
can
a cool-
develop the
That would
story.
be good. Where every episode, or maybe even every season,
Because there was a TV
another
show
world.
about there was a Highlander TV show,
Yeah.
and that seemed to have worked better than the following movies. Like
People
that
seem to like it.
that won like some not like real awards, but it won like Saturn
Right.
awards
like
or something.
shitty
you know?
syndicated show
yeah,
awards.
or like
yeah.
like sci-fi awards that don't
right.
really
like
matter.
Xena Warrior Princess Awards.
Yeah. And
Well-
and something like HBO or Netflix has the deep enough coffers where they can they can
could
go
be
anywhere. They
cool.
can go to like any location and bring in high. There's so many cultures where having an immortal come from that would be pretty cool.
Well, that would be a good idea if you had a McLeod. You had a
Cloud.
if you had a you can have either Connor or Duncan, because I know Duncan McLeod's from the show.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You have that, but you can also follow multiple timelines with different characters. Like you can see them in the past.
Sure.
You
Well, you could
if-
do like a Lost thing where you have like the flashbacks.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
the character's origin and stuff, and where they find out their.
You can have 1500 McLeod, and then you could have modern McLeod, and then you could have other ones who show up in the past, but they're not in the present. And you don't know why until later on in the season. Maybe
Yeah.
they die. Maybe other people show up, and you don't know where they came in.
This would be amazing.
This would be a great idea.
You
and
can even go bonkers and go 200 years into the future.
yeah, with real
And it's-
special effects.
It's like if you ever watched that stupid show, I forget the name. It was on like History Channel, like Ultimate
Pawn
Warrior.
Stars?
No, Ultimate Warrior.
Oh,
or something.
Deadliest
with
Warrior.
the different
Deadliest Warrior,
cultures
yeah.
fight.
That was on
So
Spike.
you can like, it's on shitty TV station.
I
But
like
that would be like
Deadliest Warrior.
so you can have Scott's Highlander versus an Apache
Samurai
guy
or
or
something,
something,
yeah.
or a
Oh,
samurai.
yeah,
that
or,
would be
cool.
that would be
Yeah.
real. That'd be really
or
cool.
like the
Yeah.
like the one Aztec that survived Cortez. You can have all these crazy. It would be.
Oh my
awesome.
God.
What if you did at the end of the season? Highlanders get picked up from all these different cultures, and they
And
have
go
to
to
fight.
Zeist.
They go to Zeist. No, but they they go to like if
To
something
Mortal
happens.
Kombat.
They go to like Mortal Kombat, and who's there? Who's running the tournament?
Raiden.
Raiden.
So I
Time
definitely
for us to fight in Mortal Kombat.
This would seriously though. This would be a really good.
It'd be an
show.
excellent show.
Yeah.
Like an
There's
excellent,
definitely still mileage in the concept. I
Yeah.
think they just mismanaged it by making it a single movie
I
or
thought
making the first movie so close. Yeah.
I thought the idea too of even if you went and didn't make it as badass as that, but the idea of like, here's a guy who can't die, and to go along with the Queen song, who wants to live forever? Maybe he's just sick of being alive, and like you can kind of play it more of a drama than an action. Although I want it to be an action, I want to have these guys fight all the
Hey,
time.
we can do both.
Well, Netflix
doing
could
it.
have Netflix could have concurrent Highlander
Mhm.
shows.
All right.
One for the ladies.
Netflix.
Set in a prison.
Netflix. I'm
Netflix.
addressing you directly here.
Listen up,
We really
Amazon Prime.
could be Amazon. They're coming up.
up and coming.
Amazon and Netflix. We're asking you to reboot the Highlander franchise as sort of a culture-spanning show that just takes the best warriors from every culture, pits them against each other,
Limitless possibilities.
and also have Jesus fight.
Christ the Savior.
Mm-hmm.
Hulu. I'm not talking to you. Get out of here.
He fights with a cross, sort of like Hacksaw Jim Duggan, like with the 4x4.
Jesus comes into the stadium.
Hulk Hogan is one of the Highlanders.
the Hulklander. But no, Jesus comes in with a big American flag, and then he's got a 2x4 nailed to another 2x4. And he comes in and goes, ho! And he just beats everybody. He beats down Genghis Khan.
Everyone in the audience makes the sign of the cross when
That's
he comes
his-
in.
when
That's his sign.
When he kills and he quickens, he does
Yeah.
the sign of the cross.
Yeah.
That's like his thing. That's his like shine on.
All
Be
right.
like, gotcha.
That's like the suck it song.
Yeah, like he's like
yeah.
X-Pac.
Yeah.
Do we have anything left to talk about with this movie?
I don't think so. I'm gonna look at my notes real quick, see if there's anything good I missed. But
Chris, what's the time we got right now?
We're about an hour and 25 minutes.
Oh, it's running pretty short for us. I'm tapped out. I actually don't have anything else to talk about.
I think
Would
we're
you-
good.
Oh, is this?
would you recommend a watch?
Is this one less than or is it sequel to?
It is less than by far.
Yeah.
It actually sort of taints the memory of the first one a little bit.
This one smells of taint.
Yes. It's that spot between the asshole and the balls
the Grundle butter?
of Jesus.
Yeah, don't. I honestly.
If you really like Highlander, for some reason you haven't seen Highlander 2, you are very safe. And from the keepers of the franchise, you should just skip to the show or the third movie
I disagree. I would watch it.
and
I
skip the second one.
There's some-
enjoyed it.
There's some stuff that's just wacky enough where it's
Just
funny.
just for
Yeah.
Ironside. Like you need to
Maybe
see it just
watch,
for that.
maybe like finish off the franchise and then watch Highlander 2 when you're done,
Yeah.
rather than watching it in order.
It was really weird watching it in order because again, watching the first one as a 30-year-old man as opposed to like a kid.
Yeah.
It was I didn't have the same appreciation for it because it's so far removed from that it looks so super cheesy.
Yeah.
The acting is so bad.
Well, there's a lot of 80s movies where you had to sort of use your imagination to make them awesome,
Like
which
Terminator,
is like
Terminator 1's kind
Terminator
of like that.
1 is sort of lame and stupid looking, but like you use your imagination and to fill in the gaps, and it's an awesome movie. So
Yeah.
you always remember it. When you're watching Highlander 1, you're it's pretty underwhelming, and
Mhm.
like the pacing isn't that great. But then when you remember watching it,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing because you only remember like the good parts, and then
Yep.
condensed into that half an hour of awesomeness, it's pretty great.
Should we do the Terminator on this one? We can talk about
Terminator 2?
Well, we can talk about T2, and then we can go on to the
Salvation.
subsequent Terminators.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
just like the Terminator series.
Because
Well-
T2 might be one of the. I mean, it holds up so well. I saw it recently. The special effects still hold up for the most part.
I think it might be too good for us.
But then we can go
It
on
might not be
to
worthy of
Rise of the
Terminator 2.
Machines,
And then that's not too good.
and then Terminator, and then Genesis is
Why
coming
don't
out.
Why don't we wait until Genesis comes out?
and we can do that. We can do the whole series. Do a mega cast.
We'll do like a 4-hour retrospective.
Hey, guys, if our listeners
the Ken
out there
Burns of Terminator.
are singles of listeners out
Yes,
there,
That's when our live show will happen.
when we do that at Merrill Auditorium,
We'll have the slow photograph zoom-ins and stuff. Just
When
to make it.
we got to get clips ready for when we're at the Civic Center so we can put them up on the big
yes.
screen.
Once we do Meryl, that'll be Terminator.
Well, I think that's it for Highlander 2. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Well, thanks everybody. This has been
Thank you very much.
Less Than or Sequel.
Were you expecting one of us to finish that?
No, I just wanted to see what would happen.